Hello everyone and welcome to today's Dux-Soup webinar. My name is Adam Osman, Head of Marketing, and with me today we have two fantastic colleagues. Giles Garnett, our Head of Professional Services, but our main speaker is Scott Wright, our equally fabulous Head of Sales. So today's webinar is, I've had a sneak peek of some of the slides, and today's webinar is, I think, an absolutely genius hack. It's all about how to use the events that people are running on LinkedIn, and you can leverage them to generate sales appointments for your business. So somebody else does all the hard work of promoting this event, and then we're going to sweep in. We're going to show you how to take quite a structured approach to generating sales leads. And I said, I've had a look at some of the content that's coming up, and I think there's some really powerful stuff that you can start using today to help build your pipeline, generate more sales, which, let's face it, that's one of the main reasons we're all here. Just a couple of quick housekeeping points. Scott will be going through quite a bit of stuff. He's got examples of messages, lots of practical stuff for you to take away. So please do take notes. For everyone on this call, you will get a copy of the recording. For anyone not on the call, we're actually, for people who don't attend, we publish a delayed publication of the content for a week. So it really is important to be on these webinars to get the information and start using it as soon as possible. So this is not a massively technical deep dive into the nuts and bolts of Dux-Soup. This is all about giving you what I think is a repeatable strategy, something that you can adopt and start using to generate leads for your business. There's plenty of time at the end for Q&A, so if you've got specific questions, please do put them in the question box in your GoToWebinar console. As Scott is going through the content, if there's any particular links that he refers to, I'll put them in the chat box, so everyone will be able to see and click on those links straight away. And we will include some links at the end, some useful links and resources, including a link to the next webinar. As you can see on the screen, we have one of our past webinar speakers, Tracy Enos, modeling one of our fabulous Dux caps. If you'd like to get your hands on one of these caps, please do go ahead and leave us a review, an honest review on G2. It helps other people who are looking to decide whether or not Dux-Soup is a cool tool to use. Once you've left a review, just ping us an email at info@dux-soup.com and we'll arrange to ship a cap out to you. So I think if you are new to Dux-Soup or you're on one of our plans where you might be thinking about upgrading, I will include some links in the chat box once Scott gets going for people who want to take up the free trial or people who are interested in upgrading from Pro to Turbo or Pro to Cloud. But without any further delay, I will hand over to someone I've come to really see as not just an expert in LinkedIn, Dux-Soup and automation, but someone who brings a real wealth of practical hands-on knowledge. And it's that that knowledge of running countless campaigns that is going to give you, if you follow the advice today, it's going to give you some, I think, battle-tested strategies, new strategies to generate leads on LinkedIn. So Scott, over to you.
Wow, Adam, thank you for that. I feel like I'm accepting an Oscar speech or something, but thank you for the kind words. Hello, everybody, and yeah, thank you. And just a little bit of a clarification. So today I will be talking to you about events and how to use Dux-Soup, but I will be talking about events in generalities. However, I'm also going to be talking about in-person events, that if you do ever attend in-person events as well, and different approaches that you can sort of take to this. I will also be talking about a few other things. So in the agenda here today, Dux-Soup events, what is that even all about, right? How do you use both of them together, and giving you a little introduction. Before you start, basically what you need to do, some things to think through when you're planning out your campaigns. Understanding that different events require different approaches, right? Are you sponsoring an event? Are you speaking at an event? Are you attending an event, right? And then things to do after the event, right? Making sure to follow up on these other areas and whatnot. And then I'm going to give a demo, which will be the bulk of what I will be talking about today. I'm going to be giving two sort of examples of one where I'm going to show you how you can target keynote speakers of a specific event, and how you can do that on LinkedIn and how you can do that at scale using some tools. And I'll then show you another demo of how you can go ahead and leverage and scrape other competitors' posts or maybe other sponsors' posts to help leverage to understand who's going to be attending, and then a little bit of an overall summary and then a Q&A. So without further ado, Dux-Soup events. So what's the point? Why do this? I mean, I guess it seems pretty straightforward. Whether you're hosting an event, right? Whether it's a webinar, whether it's an in-person meetup with 20 people, right? Or you're sponsoring a conference with 10,000 people, or you're speaking at an event, right? In short, Dux-Soup should be a part of every one of your steps and every one of those sort of options, right? What you can do with Dux-Soup is automate basically everything when it comes to promoting the event, except for the, I guess the actual posting of it. But you can go ahead and send out invites and build your network and be able to set up meetings beforehand, before you even are able to execute or attend the event. It's important though, or not important, well, it is important for sure, to take a little bit of a different approach though, when you're doing this, right? And approach it for what LinkedIn was kind of designed for, which is networking, right? I mean, you're using LinkedIn to network, to potentially set up in-person meetings at these different events, right? And so you can definitely use Dux-Soup to make sure that you're sending out those invites and whatnot. On top of that, what you're going to want to also do is kind of come in an indirectly sort of selling approach to where you want to sort of strike up a conversation and make it about the event rather than about the fact that you're sponsoring or the fact that your company sells this or whatever it is. Make it about the event. And at the end of the day, it's a conversation starter. So even when you start targeting people, and if they are not attending the event, for instance, but they still end up replying, well, now you still have a fish on the line to have a conversation to turn that into something else, right? And then being able to utilize Dux-Soup to automate post-event follow-ups, right? So whether you're running a lead capture form at a booth when you're sponsoring, right? And being able to follow up with everybody after the event, right? Or you basically just retarget the people that already replied to you. Dux-Soup should be a part of every process, the before, the during, and the after of all of the events. So I'm going to walk through a couple of these examples now. Before you get started in preparing for your event and with Dux-Soup, it's important for you to go ahead and plan out your campaigns that you're going to be doing, right? So when you're doing this, being able to understand if you are going to target your already existing first degree network maybe versus sending out connection requests to maybe second and third, right? You're going to want to have separate campaigns associated with that. Because if it's your existing network that you're going to be targeting, there's a good chance you maybe have left that conversation open to some degree, you're not sure. So you want to write that a little bit differently. And also second and third degrees require a connection request to be sent. And people can accept at different times, which is important because you're going to want to time it a few weeks out in advance so that you don't have people potentially accepting after the event and follow-ups going out. Furthermore, when in person and doing in-person events, you're going to want to plan out how to coordinate with this event and how you're going to coordinate meeting with these people, right? So if you think about it, if I'm actually going to be attending an event later on today, actually, which is kind of funny, here in San Francisco. And one of the things I've already thought through in my lead generation is since I've never been to the conference venue before, I don't know what it looks like. Instead, I've been opting to try and ask for phone numbers and texting and saying, hey, on LinkedIn, saying, hey, would love to connect when we're there. Do you have some time? Let's chat. What's your phone number? We can connect when you're there, right? Because people are going to be walking around. They're going to be over here. They're going to be over there. You don't know if you have a booth or where you guys can sort of meet. So it's important to kind of think through a little bit when you are doing your campaigns, the logistics of how you're going to try and meet up with this person. Next is thinking through your list. This is absolutely huge, and I'll be spending if you stay on for till the end here, you'll be able to hear a couple of hacks that I'll be able to show you of how you can target really anybody. But being able to really think through your list of like, are you targeting speakers? Are you targeting attendees? Or do you not even know if people are going to be attending or not? You maybe think they're attending, but they could not be. For instance, if the event's happening in Texas and you're targeting people in and around Texas that meet your ICP, right? Understanding and building that list out and then having your campaign and planning how to coordinate are going to be crucial. You're going to want to start 2 to 3 weeks out also for promoting this campaign, at least in person. You can do a month. However, you just want to be slightly careful, because if it is an in-person event, right, that you're going to be attending, then if you do it too far out in advance, like a month out, you'll have people say, yeah, sure, sounds great. We'll connect when we're there. And then they kind of just go dark for a month and then they forget about you, right? So usually doing it about 2 to 3 weeks out gives enough time for you to send out a connection request message, have them accept, right? And then on top of that, have follow-up messages that'll go out to them in a specific way. Then lastly, and this is going to be one of the main core takeaways that I want everybody to take away on this, is that you need to realize that it's not about you when you're connecting with these folks, right? It's about the event, right? We're leveraging the fact that we're both going to be at an event or potentially at an event as a conversation starter, and trying to network to get face-to-faces to then lead to obviously meetings and planned opportunities and this type of thing. So make it about the event, not about yourself, right? When you're writing the messaging. So when then doing it is you have different sort of approach, or different events require different approaches, right? So here's a few different styles of how workflows, if you will, that you would sort of find yourself in, right? Are you an attendee attending an event, right? You don't have a speaker list. You don't have an attendee list, right? You don't really have anything. You're kind of just, again, it's an event going on in Texas. You're going to be attending. So you're targeting your ICP that's near Texas. Then it's important to go ahead and just try and connect and network to meet there, right? Consider how you're going to be able to plan and how you guys are going to meet, right? Phone number, call, or if you're going to do some sort of calendar invite. And a connection request sample message that you might want to put in there is something like, hi, first name, ever heard of XYZ event? It's next month or next week or next 2 months, whatever, in your area, would love to connect. Then your follow-up being something like, thanks for the connection, first name. Notice that you're in Texas. Have you heard of XYZ event before? Now, notice in that message there, right? I'm not saying, hey, I see you're attending, or hey, my name's this and my company does this, or blah, 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 blah. I'm making it about the event, which is going to stand out significantly better and different from most of the other conversations and connection requests, because it's coming off in a more personalized way. Even if you have an attendee list, or if you absolutely know that that person is going to be attending that event potentially, still coming in with this is a good sort of tactic, because then it doesn't make you sound creepy. Hey, I see that you're going to be attending this event or something, right? Like that could come off in a little bit of a cringy way, depending on how people sort of look at that, right? So if you come in this, you're kind of playing hard and you know that they may be attending, or maybe you don't, you're sort of teeing it up, and this can be the conversation starter in general, right? Because people will reply to this, oh, hey, Scott, thanks for the connection as well. No, I've never heard of that event. What's it about, right? Then you know they're not attending, but at least you have them on the line and you can now start talking to them. Oh, no worries, like Giles, it's actually going to be pretty large, but I'm going to be in Texas during that time, and we should connect and meet up or something maybe after the conference. I have a couple of days, right? But now you have that person on the line, right? And you're utilizing that sort of interaction and the fact that the event to be able to have that conversation. Are you sponsoring an event, right? Similar sort of approach in terms of the connection request, but like coming in and asking if they've heard of the event or attended the event before, and then try to identify an area at the conference where you can meet them if they are attending, right? So if you are sponsoring, right, then you know that you're going to have a booth or you're going to have an area or this, whatever it may be. So being able to come in with a very similar message. Hi, first name, attended XYZ event before. It's one of the largest events in our industry, would love to connect. Then having a similar, thanks for the connection, first name, ever attended XYZ event before? We're sponsored and it should be a great turnout type of approach. Now, when you're also sponsoring an event, a lot of times you can tap on the shoulders of the event coordinators And a lot of times they'll give you an attendee list or some sort of information for you to be able to then target for these. That will make this a little bit better. Happy hours or off-site events after, right? So this is very big, at least in San Francisco, and when events happen, like the Salesforce conventions or whatever it may be, there's bars that are always booked or clubs, same with Vegas and whatnot. And if your company is sponsoring one of these, right, or doing something like that, then you definitely want to leverage that, right? So ask if they've heard of the event still, so still coming in with that same style of approach, and then ask them if they know of the bar, or offer them free drinks to fill out a form, or you can have a lead gen form or something. So the connection request could be similar to some of the others, and you can say, thanks for the connection. First name, are you attending XYZ event? And be like, if you are, we're having a happy hour nearby with other leaders and speakers in your space, right? Would love to have you a part of the conversation or whatnot, and put a link in there for that event to go ahead and happen. Speaking, are you speaking there, right? So are you the CEO and you're giving a talk at the conference, right? Or are you somebody else, right? You may want to be able to leverage Dux-Soup. Or if your CEO is maybe speaking and you're going to be attending, you could kind of say, oh, our CEO is going to be speaking at this, but leverage that you're speaking, and that you sort of want to know if they've ever attended and what the audience looks like, right? So similar connections as before. Have you ever attended this event, right? Thanks for the connection. First name, have you ever heard of this? And then from there, being able to say, I asked because I'm scheduled to give a talk and looking for anyone that has attended before to give some insight into some of the attendance, right? So really, again, kind of taking a step back and looking at the event and you leveraging the fact that, hey, we're going to both be there as a conversation starter, but then also seeing if they are going to be attending, and if you do know they are, being able to then coordinate that coming from Dux-Soup in this area. And this will make a little bit more sense as I do my demonstration here. After the event, though, once the event is passed, what you're going to want to do with Dux-Soup specifically, right, is you're going to want to go in and adjust any campaigns. You're going to maybe even want to do this the day of or the day after the event. Adjust any second and third degree campaigns that have connection requests in there, turn them off, and remove any or remove any follow-ups that are in there, so that it's just connection requests, so it does the least amount of damage in there. Because you don't want a follow-up message saying, hey, have you heard about this event that's happening, when it's been a week past that event time, right? And yeah, adjust all your follow-ups, or you can adjust the follow-ups to be able to make sense for after the campaign in those cases, and make sure to check your queue in there too. Use Dux-Soup to send out a follow-up to anyone that hasn't replied, also that has gone through the campaign. Ask them if they've attended, ask them how it was, share how your experience was. Hey, did you attend XYZ last week? How was the XYZ for you? Well, how was your talk? I was only able to catch part of it, but it looked decent, right? So being able to make sure that you follow up. So that said, I think to really showcase the power of what I want to show you in terms of list building and targeting and doing a pre, during, and after events, let's take an exact use case scenario here. So Black Hat, what we'll do right now is I'm going to pretend like I'm going to target Black Hat. Black Hat is a conference, a cybersecurity conference that happens. It's pretty large, one of the largest cybersecurity conferences. It's happening in Las Vegas, August 8th, I think, August 8th, 9th, 10th, something like that. So what I'm going to do, right, is I'm going to find the speaker list, and I'll be pretending as if I'm attending, right? I'm going to show you how to find the speaker list from a Google search, how to leverage ChatGPT and leverage ChatGPT and some other tools to then also create a Dux-Soup campaign. So let me show you how to do that right now. So first thing we're going to do is in this, hopefully we can all see my screen. We need to find the speakers for Black Hat, right? So what we're simply going to do is just do a Google search, right? And type in something like Black Hat Speakers 2024. As soon as we do this search here, you're going to see a bunch of different links come up in these cases, right? So if I click on maybe this one here, click on one of the first ones. Lovely. This one has a few of them. Let's actually go back here. Let's click on maybe this one here. There we go. This is a good one. So let's say you have all of these. It works on the photos too, but let's say you have all of these sort of speakers that are going to be giving talks, right? And there's quite a few of them. How do you get this into Dux-Soup? right? And how do you get LinkedIn and how do you get this all going, right? Well, first thing you're going to do is copy all of this right from the front of the page here. So we're going to copy all of this information, right? We've probably all tried this before when you highlight that and you try to go to a Google Sheet or an Excel spreadsheet and you try to paste it in and it comes out all formatted, messed up and stuff, which is done by design, right? People don't want you scraping their sites for these different things. That's where ChatGPT comes into play. And so with ChatGPT, if you actually copy all of that and say, organize this as a prompt, you say, organize this information into headers and columns and just give me name, title, and company. Paste in the raw text there and hit enter, you will start to get all of the information there as a name, title, and company, right? And so that's what I was doing here with ChatGPT currently. I didn't let it finish, I'm just using this as a sample. But what I can now do is you can copy this information and come paste it into your Google Sheet. You may need to do a little bit of formatting here. In fact, I think I have. Yeah, actually I have one here. So this was from earlier, so I can just maximize this. So these are all some of the speakers from Black Hat. It's not all of them. I just did a portion of them. And so once you have it in a format like this, then how do you get to find the LinkedIn URLs, right? You need to enrich it.
Can you zoom in a little bit, Scott, for people so they can see it in? Yeah, thank you very much.
How's that? Just kidding. Yes, 100%. There you go. Totally. So yeah. So now once you have it in this format, right, and you have these speakers, you need to now get the LinkedIn URLs, which Dux-Soup can leverage external lists as long as you have the LinkedIn URLs. Now, there's a couple of different ways to do this. One is you can, if you do have a subscription to like an enrichment service, right? Maybe Zoom Info or Rocket Reach or Seamless or one of these other ones or whatnot. You could take a stab at uploading this list into there and seeing if it will give you the LinkedIn URLs, right? Which I think is always a good route to do if you have the subscription. However, I come from the world of growth hacking and trying to do everything for as cheap as possible and in as much as you can. So what I'm going to use is a formula in Google Sheets that you can create that basically shows something like this, where you hit LinkedIn profile and you can query this portion here and it will find the LinkedIn URL and you can drag this down and it will auto-populate with all of these. Now, this is not a normal Google Sheets formula, right? As probably a lot of people are probably being like, what? My Google Sheets doesn't do that. That's correct, right? So what this is basically a tutorial. It's a Google app script. Without getting into too much information or details here, it's by a really good friend named Giacomo. He's a great person, but make sure we put this link in the chat for everybody and follow these tutorials. And what the link is, this will allow you to do. Perfect, thank you. What this will allow you to do, it seems complicated at first, but just Giacomo's steps are very, very, very straightforward. It's very, very easy. You do have to copy some code and paste it in inside of the Google app script here. And pasting in some of this, and then once you have it running, you will have then on this Google Sheet, you can hit LinkedIn profile, right? Which will allow you to then find the LinkedIn profiles of up to 100 people per day. So it'll do 100 searches per day for free every single day, because it's leveraging Google's custom API or custom search API. And if you just follow the steps, you'll be able to set this up like this. Once you have this set up here, right, the next port or the next thing you want to do is obviously just check it. Effectively, what this little hack is doing, this LinkedIn profile and in this tutorial is basically doing is it's essentially taking the information you give it, the query here, right, copying this and doing a Google search and finding the first link.linkedin.com URL that it appears based on that information, right? So, if I was to give it a percentage of accuracy, I would say in the realm of 90 to 97%. I'm fairly accurate that most of them are good. However, it's always good to just spot check, right? And so being able to, so this one looks right, and see this one looks wrong. So you might want to do a little bit of spot checking as you go through this. But for the most part, you can get it fairly decent. And in the realm of growth hacking, this has been an absolute game changer in terms of being able to now leverage lists that are outside of LinkedIn and using ChatGPT to scrape information, enrich it, and get the LinkedIn URL so that we can then target, right? So once we have this, what do we do next? Well, now that we have our lists and we know that these people are going to be at Black Hat and they're going to be speaking, we can now create our campaign. And so we come over to our good old friend and our trusty Dux Dash, where we can create our different drip campaigns inside of Dux-Soup. I've already gone ahead and pre-written out some campaigns. And so here we have one for the pre-event, so basically leading up to the event. And in this case, what you're able to see here is I've written a connection request that says, hi, first name, notice that you're providing a briefing. I think they call them briefings, by the way, here at Black Hat, not speaking sessions or keynotes, they call them briefings. Notice that you're providing a briefing at Black Hat in August. Is it your first time presenting at BH? Looks fascinating, gonna try and attend, would love to connect regardless. That sounds extremely personalized, right? That we know, because we know they are gonna be speaking, right? And we're gonna be able to do it at scale. And if we just try to use common things like maybe using BH instead of writing out Black Hat potentially, right? Things that maybe other presenters and speakers and people in the space might do, then mentioning their talk, but you can't mention exactly what it is they're going to talk about for the exact event. However, you can talk in broad strokes about it, right? And then I also mentioned like, hey, is it your first time presenting, right? Because maybe they're a little nervous and whatnot, and that comes off in a very personalized way, right? Then for my follow-up message, after they accept, I have it going out 3 hours afterwards. You're going to want to be very, very soon afterwards for the most part. Is that right? Thanks for the connection. Are you excited for your session at BH, right? Should be interesting given the recent CrowdStrike situation. Hopefully it doesn't become the main talking point of the event though. And so basically I'm leveraging what happened in the news recently. If anybody obviously has been paying attention, there's been a huge CrowdStrike issue that disrupted flights and all these other things. And so I'm leveraging that as like a way to sound personalized as well, to be able to say like, hey, you know, excited for your talk, but at the same time, like, I know it should be interesting with the CrowdStrike stuff, but hopefully it doesn't like overshadow, you know, your talk or whatever it is that's sort of going on or whatnot in these sort of cases. But I'm leveraging the event. I know that they're speaking, and I'm leveraging something that's personalized to strike up a conversation. And then I'm going to try and pivot to get to meet them there, right? Because ideally somebody's going to respond to this saying, hey, Scott, great to be connected to you as well. Yeah, I'm excited for my talk. It should be pretty good. And in terms of a turnout, yeah, it's definitely my first time, but thanks. Then what you'll respond to that is something along the lines of, oh yeah, totally. I'm going to try and make it on this day and whatnot. That said, we should totally connect when we're there, maybe after your chat or something like that. The speaker will most likely say something along the lines, yeah, sure, sounds great. And then you can exchange your phone numbers, or you can maybe exchange like a time that you guys want to maybe coordinate after maybe offside of the stage or something to that nature, right? Follow-up message 2 here is in the case where you maybe have a happy hour, right? Or something that's going on after, maybe you have this go out again one day after these other messages. Still, the conference is probably about 2 weeks away at this point. You want to say, by the way, what are your plans after your talk, right? We're having a few people together at this 1920s style speakeasy that also doubles as an ice bar, question mark. Actually, this is no joke. I believe that's what it said here at this Black Hat party that's going on, right? And it said, either way, would love to have you in attendance if you're open to it, and feel free to bring a friend, right? So if your company is sponsoring in a happy hour or something and you have like a lead form capture to some degree, you could put that in here and you can have them fill it out, and then you know that they're going to be attending. And people at these types of really big conferences love to attend the events afterwards, right? So this is always a main talking point in these cases, right? So once that has done, you can go, or once you have this here, you can now go over to your funnel flow on this area. And we have a new feature, which is called Enroll from Clipboard. We still do have Enroll from File, but you can now do Enroll from Clipboard. And you can now simply just take these, copy them right to your clipboard, come here, and go ahead and select the campaign and hit enroll, and now you're done. And you've gone ahead and scheduled Dux-Soup to go ahead and enroll all of these people into that campaign, right? So pretty straightforward in terms of doing a search to find the people on Google in terms of the speakers, copying the information from there, putting it into something like a ChatGPT to organize it into a workable format like this, where you can then get enriched, leverage some growth hacking tools like Yakimo's tutorial on how to find the LinkedIn URL for any person, and then being able to write a campaign on Dux-Soup that is very personalized about the event, right, and leading in a couple of weeks up to it, to be able to go and target some of these speakers. Now, in my last, and with a couple minutes left on the clock here, I think we'll have a decent amount of time. With my next demo that I want to really quickly, this one will be a little quicker, is we're going to do something a little different here, still promoting Black Hat, but we're going to leverage our competitor or just other sponsors' posts. So we're going to search, what you're going to do is search LinkedIn for posts about Black Hat, find one that has decent engagement, like this one from Splunk. It has 75, if I share my screen, has 75 likes. And then being able to leverage Dux-Soup to scrape the profile likes and scrub it and then re-enroll via Dux-Soup. So to do this, I have the post link already here. So we'll just copy this. So I just did a search for Black Hat on LinkedIn and I was able to find this post from Splunk, which is a really big, they're a pretty large company. Saw that there was 75 here, and it talks about, hey, come on all, we're headed to Black Hat USA. It's pretty safe to say, who knows what you might even see and whatnot. And you can click on, you can read what it is that they have, all some of their briefings and all this other stuff. And so what you're able to do then is, once you have this, you can click on the likes here and the reactions, and you can see it says Dux-Soup at your service. From here, you can actually go ahead and click on the Dux-Soup extension and hit scan profiles. This will take nothing but a minute or two. And what Dux-Soup is going to do is scrape the surface level data, or scan the surface level data of all the reactions in here. So all 75. Then you can download the data. I thought I did that already, but we'll just do it right now as it's downloading currently. So once this should be finished here in just a second, but we're going to take the data, then we're going to put it into a spreadsheet, lightly scrub it for anybody that works for Splunk, because maybe we don't want to target them. And then we're going to target, we're going to write a connection message and so on for those folks here. So I'll go ahead and stop it now so we can, for the sake of time, we'll hit stop. So next we're going to hit download. We're going to come back to our spreadsheet. We'll go ahead and hit file, import. I might have some extra data in here that's irrelevant, so please excuse any of the mess here. Spreadsheet. And yeah, so this data is a little dated here. What is today? Today's the 23rd. Of course, today's webinar day. There we go. We're going to delete these. And here's the data that I was able to pull, right? Now, from scraping and scanning the pages. What I may want to do now is filter this for anybody that works for the company Splunk. So I may put a filter on here and do filter by condition, text contains, and then type in the word Splunk, right? Because I don't want anybody that works for Splunk, and I'm going to delete these. And now, right, I have a list. Let me turn off my filter. Now I have a list of people, and maybe pull it out for sales folks or whatever it is, right? But ideally, you have a list of people where it's a good chance that they're going to be attending, right, Black Hat potentially. And you can maybe filter this even further for your your ICP. So like if you don't want salespeople, you want systems administrators, architects, right? You want the analysts, you want the AVPs, or these other stuff here. Filtered a little bit further, and now you have these people that are going to that like Splunk. So there's a good chance they maybe even use Splunk too. And being able to now take the URLs once it's scrubbed, and being able to come to your Dux Dash, create a different campaign. I'll show you the campaign for this case. Here we go. And so for this, I know Splunk is throwing an event as well. And so my connection request is going to say something like, always good to connect with others in the space. By the way, are you planning on attending Black Hat this year? And it sounds kind of silly, right? Because it's like, well, we're almost positive that they are, because they like this post about Black Hat, and they're most likely going to be attending, right? However, going back to this, it's really good to be able to just come in a sort of even if you do know that they're going to be attending, like, hey, have you heard of Black Hat, or are you going to be attending this year? It comes off a lot more personalized, and it doesn't make you sound like a bot in these cases, right? And then when they accept your connection, being able to follow up with something that says like, hey, are you planning on attending Black Hat? You know, it should be interesting given the recent CrowdStrike event. And then you can also, I also heard that Splunk is throwing a pretty sweet party at an ice bar. Might try to attend that and then put like the link in there, right? So you're basically leveraging the fact that maybe they'll be attending and at this area, and also offering something for you guys to go ahead and attend, right? Now, notice one thing across all of these campaigns, though, that I've been sort of showing, and all of these items here, that I'm not pitching. I'm not talking about my company. I'm not promoting my product. I'm not doing any of that, right? I'm not saying what we do. I'm not saying anything like that, because at the end of the day, they don't, and I'll say this lightly here, but they don't care, right? It's our job to make them care. And so they are going to be attending this event, right? You're going to be attending this event, or sponsoring, or speaking, or, you know, some sort of interaction with this sort of event here. It is hugely important to just leverage the fact that you have that in common, and get the concept of networking and being able to meet them in person or virtually, if it's a virtual event, whatever it may be, all these other things. But leverage the fact that you're both going to the conference as you're networking and foot in the door to strike up a conversation, rather than coming in and saying, thank you for the connection, first name, this is what my company does, and you know, if you're going to this, then let's attend. No, like, you can be a little bit more savvy and use some social engineering tactics, right? By saying like, you know, finding the speaker lists, right? If you are targeting them, and other tactics I've been sort of showing you on this case, and writing your messaging in a very nonchalant, personalized networking sort of format will get you so far. And this is one of the biggest sort of money makers that has helped in terms of all of my years of using Dux-Soup. I've been using it since 2018. I've been doing events like this for this entire time. It's been a huge, huge break on this. One last piece I will share with you before we go to Q&A is with this, you can also leverage the same thing for events on LinkedIn that are happening, virtual events, right? And so with virtual events, as long as you attend or you register, you should be able to see the attendee list once you're registered there. And taking my same sort of framework here, now, people registered, right? We had a bunch of people register for this webinar, right? Not everybody attended though, but you can write your connection request message around that and say maybe something that's along the lines of, hey, first name, you know, always looking to grow my network. By the way, have you heard of this event? Even though you know that they're attending or registering, right? And they're going to reply back, yes, I have. Actually, I'm going to be attending. It should be great, right? In that case, that's your foot in the door to strike up your conversation and be able to pivot to where your call to action is. So that's it. I know we got 10 minutes on the clock. We had some technical disruptions, but I'd be happy to go to Q&A on this. Oh, sorry, one last slide. In summary, I mean, I kind of covered everything in summary here, but your goal is to meet the prospects at the event, or use the event as basically your common ground to get your foot into the door and set the meeting. Plan out your different campaigns for different purposes, right? Second and third, are you sponsoring? Are you attending? Are you speaking, right? Leverage Google to find speaker lists, and LinkedIn for finding competitor posts, and learn how to scrape that information easily, and use ChatGPT and other resources to enrich it to get the LinkedIn URLs to then upload into Dux-Soup. And then also coordinate how you're going to be, if you are doing it in person, coordinate how and where you're going to be meeting with the client or the prospects when that time comes. And then make sure that you follow up after the event in a lot of these cases. So a little bit of a rocky webinar here. Apologies for the disruptions, kind of threw off the flow a little bit, but that said, happy to jump into any questions.
So Scott, we did have an early question actually, which I think you've partially answered pretty much with one of the last things you were saying, which is, can this technique be used for webinars rather than non-physical, rather than physical events? So can you use this technique for offline, online events, webinars? Does it have to be on LinkedIn?
Yeah, I mean, 100%.
That was a question. That was a question from Tom. Sorry, yeah.
So Tom, hopefully you're still here. Yeah, I kind of covered that at the very, very end here. If I was to type in, you know, sales events or something, just to show as an example here, in this case. And when you see an event like this one's coming up August 20th, right? You can go ahead, and I probably shouldn't totally do it this way, but I can use as an example. You can register for the event, and sometimes they have it open. So this one's open. This says there's 35,000 other attendees. Wow, that's a lot, right? But you can click on the attendee list and you can now see them. Now that you have it here, you can either enroll Dux-Soup automatically right onto all of these people here, right? However, you might want to give this a scrub for who you want. So you can use the search parameters up here, or you can scrape it using Dux-Soup, pull it out, scrub it, re-upload into these cases. But the approach that I would take in the mannerism is, again, like, sometimes I think it's it can come off a little creepy to some degree. It depends. If you're like, hey, I see you're attending this event, like we should totally meet or connect afterward. This is what my company does, and blah, 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 blah. Instead, for a virtual sense, just, again, leverage the fact that the event you have in common, right? Maybe it's coming, if you are going to mention there at the event, the virtual event, for this one specifically, maybe it's saying, what does this one say specifically? I think it says, powerful LinkedIn lead generation system to 3x success. Maybe it's like, hey, your question could be, hey, first name, out of curiosity, have you heard of this event? It should be pretty interesting. What do you hope to get out of it, right? Oh, I hope to get out of it. And then you can basically start to use that to pivot to what your call to action is. But you're basically leveraging the fact that you have the event in common here and being able to target the attendees on this case.
Brilliant, thank you, Scott. One other question. Why are you so adamant that there's no pitching in the messages that you're sending?
So I'm very adamant about that because, I mean, in general, so what I've seen over my years, I've spent a lot of my time in cybersecurity, selling in B2B enterprise, and setting up meetings with chief information security officers, chief security officers, chief information officers, and so on. And in there, one of the things I've noticed, like, that's a long sales cycle. And when you come in and you try to pitch, it's just going to end up like everything else on your LinkedIn feed, right? And all of us on this call can probably attest that we've gotten these just garbage messages from people that are just too long. They're pitching, it's like a freaking essay in these areas. And it's like forgetting the fact that, like, what is LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn is a social media platform. And sometimes people forget that. And so it's important to take a step back and it's like, what is this used for? It's meant for networking, right? And so, yes, almost everybody that accepts my connection or whatnot has some sort of inclination that they're probably going to want to work with me, or I want to work with them, right? It's kind of known, or they want a job to some degree, right? And you don't need to talk totally about what your company does, because LinkedIn lets you stalk the other person. That's the whole point. You can see their profile, you can see their title, you can see where they work, you can see all this information before you even hit accept. And so a common thing I see is just people putting in, hi, my name is this, and we do this, that, and this, and here's a link for my Calendly. And by the way, if you're in the Nashville, Tennessee area on this day, we're having an event for here. And it's like, that's just like a flyer, the equivalent of like a digital flyer you put on somebody's car, and it's just like causing e-waste and making the platform more spam, in my personal opinion, in my years of doing this. And what gets you a lot further in all campaigns across the board is if you're able to just leverage intuitive insights that you can pull from different things like attendee lists, or if you're attending some sort of event. I've had people, they didn't do it on purpose. They were supposed to attend an event, did all of these steps correctly, and unfortunately weren't able to attend the event, but still set meetings after the event because they were supposed to attend. They ended up not, but because their messaging was saying, oh, I'm going to be attending and these things, we should meet up while we're there, but then were able to then use that on the back half, being able to follow up to set meetings. So hint, hint, nudge, nudge, do you have to actually attend the meeting? I'll leave that up to you, right? But attend the event, I'll leave that up to you to some degree. But there's different sort of social engineering tactics that I would take that makes it hugely important to ensure that you're sort of coming in a short and sweet. They say, I said this the other day, they say you can have 300 characters in your connection message. Maybe challenge yourself to have less than 300 characters in your follow-ups too, and make it in an engagement way to get people to respond to you, to pivot in what you want. So yeah, that's my tangent. I feel strongly on that one, but yeah, sorry.
But I think that's really useful insight from someone, again, who has a lot of practical experience of running these campaigns on a day-to-day basis. And, I think you said something in the middle of that answer, Scott, which is we all get a ton of these connection requests, which are, they either look really copy pasted or, blasted out, and it's all generic, and nobody responds to them. It's not, whereas I think your strategy and your technique is all around, I guess, finding that point of engagement with them, something in common, something they're going to want to respond to, and then obviously that's the start of you building up your dialogue and hopefully beginning the start of a conversation.
If I can also add one more piece of this, like using Dux-Soup is a very powerful tool, right? But at the end of the day, right, a hammer is a hammer, and it's the carpenter that is the skilled one, right? And so Dux-Soup's not going to find the prospects for you. Dux-Soup's not going to do this stuff. What Dux-Soup's going to do is automate whatever you wanted to do in terms of LinkedIn and save you drastic amounts of time and able to manage all of these types of things. That said, though, your overall goal with any Dux-Soup campaign should be in the corresponding order, respectively: get the accepted connection, get a reply, have a conversation that executes your call to action, right? And everything is some version of that to some varying degree. Maybe you have a connection message, you're just targeting first degrees, whatever, it doesn't matter. But that's the idea here in these cases. And so with these, even with your connection message and leveraging Dux-Soup to just build out your network, build it in a really meaningful mannerism, right? Because this person is now going to be a part of your network after the event happens and after you leave your current company or you go work at a different company or start something new or whatever. That person's still now most likely going to be connected with you, and you can now target them later on, right? So if you think about it, why send them just copy paste email spam when it's just going to go into the trash and no one wants to see that? Another last piece I'll say is, like, put yourself in the shoes of that person and of your own message and ask yourself, would you respond to that, right? Like, I think that's a really, really simple one to really kind of go through. And if not, then maybe think, like, if you were to interact with this CEO or this founder or this VP of sales or this marketing person or this chief information security officer, if you were to interact with them at Starbucks or at a conference face to face, how would that conversation go? What would you say potentially? And how would you bring up your company? That sort of interaction there, right? And what are some of those questions is what you're going to want to use on with Dux-Soup and be able to plug that in. And you're going to get many more conversations, a much better acceptance rate. It's going to come off much more personalized as well, and putting in the time and effort for building your lists, and it come this way. So
brilliant. Thank you, Scott. We have a question from Angela. Does Dux-Soup have the ability to send connection requests from an Excel list?
100 million%. So there's two ways to do that. This is a Google sheet. So if you squint your eyes, pretend it looks like Excel. So when you have the Excel formula or the Excel sheet in front of you, all Dux-Soup needs in order to operate is the LinkedIn URL at the end of the day. Once you have that in here, there's two ways you can go ahead and upload this list to Dux-Soup, right? Way number one is in the Dux Dash. You come to what is called our funnel flow, which is where you can see your campaigns, your metrics, your KPIs, things like that associated with different campaigns. And from here, you can go ahead and either enroll from a file, so you can download that as a CSV and upload it, and then you can select your campaign. So if I select here, I select this file, then it says at 109 profiles, right? And I can select which campaign I'd like. Or one of our newest features, which is super quick and handy that I was showcasing in my demonstration, is just straight copy them from right here and just copy them to your clipboard. If there's not too many of them, it's a lot quicker, so you don't have to download anything, and just paste right into here, select whatever the name of the campaign is, and hit enroll and go that route. And that goes a little bit quicker on these areas. We also do have an open API for if you're on Turbo. Oh, I guess you need this feature to use for Turbo and also for Cloud. And so there are some creative things that people have done with APIs, but I won't turn this into a technical more than it's already been discussion. But yeah, that's how I would leverage.
If I can just also add there, if you are using Pro at the moment, Angela, and you are only sending connection requests, even from the drop-down menu, you have a slightly different way of doing that, from a CSV file. But that's all clearly documented on our support pages because it's slightly different. You need a CSV file, and you I can't remember what the expression is. When you press the button, you I'll look for it now. You use the revisit data button if you're using the Pro version rather than the enrollment.
Yep. Yep. So yeah, Pro would use this version that's just on the screen, which is the revisit tool, where you do have to use a file, and then you would do visit and connect as you write in your message. But for our cool cats in Turbo or in Cloud, not to say our pros aren't cool either, but you can go ahead and copy it with the new feature there too. Great question.
So it's interesting, Angela's response was, I was 100% expecting no, so it's great that it's a yes. We've got time for a few more questions. Is there a way to take an Excel spreadsheet with names and email addresses and find them on LinkedIn with Dux-Soup?
So this is a good one. So with that, right, let's take my exact example that I was showcasing here earlier, right? So the emails actually are actually going to make this little trick for being able to find the URLs, right? Here we go. For finding these, having the email in here actually makes it worse to be when you're doing the search with this sort of query in this case, right? Again, building this sort of LinkedIn here, this formula to be able to query these, having the email can actually make it worse. What I would recommend, right, is if you only have the names, that's it. It's going to be a little challenging, right? However, there are ways around it, right? If you, I encourage you, like if you have anything else like location, like if you happen to know they're here or there, right? And put location in here, right? To do this sort of formula, then that's going to help as well. If you have maybe first name and company, right? That's going to help as well. I've even interacted with some sponsored an event before, and they didn't want to, the event attendees, they're like, oh, we asked them for an attendee list because we were sponsoring, and they go, oh, well, you can only get the full attendee list if you're like our diamond support, but what we can give you is a list of titles and companies of people that will be there. And I was like, okay, so they gave me just titles and company here, and I ran the same thing, this little search, right? I don't have the name, but I was able to leverage that, and that ended up working for me because there's usually only one, VP or Chief Information Security Officer at this company, and LinkedIn will be able to hopefully be able to, or the Google searching formula will be able to pull it up in that case, right? Otherwise, though, if you have the emails, the subscription services to Seamless, to Rocket Reach, to all these other ones, they feed off of that, off of being able to get these emails because it helps enrich their platforms. So leveraging those, but it has been an interesting case over the last like 6 years of my life. It was like phone numbers and then it was emails, and now I'm like, I want the LinkedIn URLs. Like that's what matters to me the most because that's more important than somebody's email this day and age. But that's my personal opinion on that case. So yeah, so that if you just have the name, I would still give this a shot. But if you have any other data you could leverage, anything else, this thing will literally query whatever it is that you put into it, right? So if you happen to know their speakers at Black Hat, but whatever, you can put Black Hat in here maybe, and it will be able to pop up in these cases.
Brilliant, thank you. There's so Tanya's response is she has the physical business address. So if you've got the physical business address, will that then make things better?
Yeah, 100%. So if you're able to, if you just have the first and last name, let's say you don't have title and company, right? And you have the physical business address, let's say, actually here, we could just use like myself, for instance. We'll give this a try, right? If I put in Scott, I put in Wright, right? And then, right, that's funny. I haven't heard that one before. San Francisco, right? And we do this and do the LinkedIn formula here, and we just query on this. There's a much better chance that it should be able to still find me. And there I am, there we go. So you could put in the physical business address if you just have the first and last name, right? So anything else will happen or be able to go. Now, when utilizing this, remember, you can only do 100 per day unless you hook this up to a Google BigQuery account, but he talks about it in the tutorial. You can do 100 per day, and with that, right, you're gonna wanna maybe like, because it doesn't find everybody, so it didn't find this person, right? Maybe I want to switch it up and maybe just search for like their name and their company or name and title and switch that up and maybe try to find these other ones in these cases. But yeah, location should help narrow it down in those cases.
Brilliant. So the second question, or another part of that question, was, is there documentation on how to build that query? I think, Giles, you pasted the link in early on in the chat, which is the article how to get LinkedIn profiles using a Google Sheet formula from, was it Giacomo? Is that how you pronounce it, Scott?
Yeah, Giacomo. He's a great dude. I've actually met him in person, and he walked me through how he actually built this. He built it like a 2022. There is a YouTube on this. I'm also thinking though of recording another video just like this and sharing it to my network. So add me on LinkedIn, and I'll probably share this a video associated with this to walk you through step by step, like a tutorial on how to set it up as like a brand new. So I'll probably record that, but for now, the details are also on here. He's got a YouTube on it. It's don't be overwhelmed. It looks weird because the code does come into play, but it's very, very simple. I promise you. Just move slowly and go through it, and don't worry about everything it's asking you to do.
Great. And we actually have, I think, just in the last few days, published a new case study to the Dux-Soup websites, and it's a really interesting combination of using Dux-Soup alongside LinkedIn and ChatGPT to query LinkedIn at scale to build a lot of data. I'm just going to pop the link in the chat because I said that's pretty new to what is it called there?
Yeah, I've actually seen that one, and that one is actually really good. You can also, depending on, as everybody on here has probably touched ChatGPT in some way, shape, or form, and it can be finicky, but you can get it to do what you need it to do, and you just got to kind of work at it sometimes. You might be able to, at this point, when you're putting in the speaker list, right, to ChatGPT to organize it, you might be able to bypass this and say, like, find me the LinkedIn URLs for these folks and paste this in here. It may find it, it may not find it, right? It depends on how you what data you give it and what information it may give it to me. It does also stutter out if you have a very large list, right? So you might need to do it in patches. So here, look, it looks like it is giving me the LinkedIn URL, which is fantastic, right? So you might be able to even bypass creating this sort of sheet here and leverage ChatGPT to some degree. Maybe saying organize this into headers and columns and give me the LinkedIn URLs of these people could be a good way to do it.
I guess that's where it comes back to, or do they call it now, prompt engineering, in terms of how you define your query into ChatGPT. But the case study is really interesting because they do this on a pretty regular basis at scale, and they've built an absolutely massive database in the last couple of years based off scraping that content. I think that's it for questions. All that remains is to give a little trailer for the upcoming webinar in a couple of weeks' time, which we've nicknamed the Power Hour. It's basically putting you, the audience, in control. And we'll have, I think, Scott and Giles coming back to hold a live Q&A. Any question, any aspect of Dux-Soup and LinkedIn, you can come on, ask that question, put our experts on the spot. I'm pretty confident there is no question that they either cannot answer or cannot find the answer to. So if you want to register for that webinar, remember, people who register and attend will get the recording straight away. People who register and don't show up will have to wait a week or so. So if you want to be the first to get that practical information, practical knowledge, please make sure you go ahead and register. So let me pop that into the chat box. Guys, anything else to add about that webinar?
If I can just add, get your questions in advance as well. If you've got questions in the meantime, when you register, get your questions into our support team, however you want to. Our support team is available via the email address that you'll see at the end. So yeah, get those questions in advance and we can be well prepared with our answers as well. We will, of course, do the live ones there as well.
And then I guess just to follow up to that, if you do need a bit more help, a bit more hand-holding with anything maybe we've gone through today, or any other aspects of a campaign or something you're looking to do, please do reach out via our website. There are a number of services that you can tap into, from free support calls and our amazing support team. I was speaking to one of our users today who basically said, they've probably sent in 1,000 emails between them and their clients that they've got onto Dux-Soup over the last 3 or 4 years, and 99.9% of them are responded to or replied to same day. So please do make use of that support service. There is a reason why we regularly get 5-star praise for our support team, and that's because they are absolutely great. We also have booster and technical sessions that you can book for some dedicated hand-holding consultancy, whatever you want to call it, and all of these are available to be booked directly from the Dux-Soup website.
And jumping in there for a second, by the way, you book a support call, guess who you're going to get? 50% chance you'll get me, 50% chance you get Giles, right? So we're always want, this has been our life and blood for, I mean, for me, almost a decade. For Giles, definitely over a decade, you can tell by his, no, I'm kidding. And so we'd love to talk about these types of things. There's almost no use case we haven't seen. Add me on LinkedIn, join the Dux-Soup community, and yeah.
And I think I touched on the reviews at the start. If there are any Dux users on here who would like to nab one of our snazzy caps, please just head on over to G2 and leave us a review.
Nice. Thank you so much.
Well, firstly, I want to say thank you, Scott, for taking us through, I think, a really interesting presentation using Dux-Soup, LinkedIn in a very different way to leverage events. It's certainly not a strategy I've seen before. And thank you to our audience for sticking with us whilst we worked our way through those technical problems. We'll make sure that the recording is made available to everyone without the big gap in the middle that has the part where we're asking people to effectively switch it off and on again. Hopefully you will come and join us again on the next Dux-Soup webinar in a couple of weeks. As I mentioned, it's there for people to ask as many questions as they want, and we hope to see you again soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Cheers.